communication. My main theme about my day business is if you want to have an impact on others, you first have to speak to them in their language. That's a quote of Kurt Tucholsky, maybe known of most of us. And this means to me, I want to know what is happening in my community. It doesn't matter if it's an onboard community, a social media community, or a forum, for example. What users, I want to know what users are interested in and who belongs to us. So content must be offered added value. So the target group is very important, and how to keep them and how to share content is at CTAs as most as you can. And in the end of the day, the main focus on our work is to create a positive user experience, because when we are feeling well, we naturally feel happier. So, and with the next 4 slides, I want to share some mindsets about why we are doing this, how we can do this, some best practices, and 5 tips you can take with you for your work. Why? So, at first, it's a social progress. A society that promotes diversity and inclusion is one that drives progress and innovation. By integrating LGBTIQ plus people and giving them a voice, we can create an environment for all. Second, economic benefits. Companies that promote diversity and inclusion are proven to be more successful, and innovative. And third, moral responsibilities. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. And at this point, I have nothing to add because we all know how we can do this. At first, we can create safe spaces. So organizations should ensure that their working environments are free from discrimination and harassment, and that LGBTIQ plus people can feel safe to be open about their identity. Raising awareness and training our employees. Training and awareness raising measures can reduce prejudice and improve understanding of LGBTIQ plus issues, both within the organization and the society. So if you train your colleagues, employees, or team, they will spread the word in their daily life. And last, active support. Organizations should actively advocate for LGBTIQ plus people rights, support queer organizations, like with grantings or donations, and even with actions, taking part in their activities and events, and spread the word and support the LGBTIQ plus employees. Best practice, first slide, acknowledge your limitations. So I think it's very important to know who you are and what your strengths are and what aren't. Acknowledge your perspective. So start by acknowledging your own identity and the limitations it may present in addressing certain topics. Express willingness to learn. Emphasize your commitment to learning and understanding perspectives different from your own. Redirect to appropriate resources. If possible, redirect the question to someone who may be better equipped to address it. Choose an expert on each topic and offer support. Finally, offer your support and solidarity. As a result, by acknowledging your limitations, expressing a willingness to learn, and offering support, you can navigate these situations with humanity and integrity. One thing I want to point out is hate speech. We have to deal on a daily basis with this. So like comments on X, Instagram, and all our socials. But if hate speech occurs in a live setting, a social media platform or online forum where you have control, address it immediately. make it clear that hate speech is not tolerated, and remind participants of the importance of a respectful communication. How to do so: educate others and explain why such language is not tolerated. Create a safe space for all to express feelings and concerns, and report and block users who do not treat others with respect. I know this is a hard result, but sometimes there's a phrase we use in Germany very often: don't feed the troll. Sometimes you can't handle the discussion, and you can stop it. It's a waste of time to get into a discussion with a real hater. Create guidelines that explicitly prohibit hate speech and discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And remember, no one should have to endure discrimination or harassment. By actively addressing hate speech and promoting understanding and acceptance, we can work towards creating a more inclusive and compassionate society for all individuals, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. So now I want to share some best practice, how we do it at work. So at the first left side, you can see our Instagram from Gaudi community. So we share different kind of images. So in the left corner, you can see some sexual practices like spreading the word about and talking about fetish, in this case, bondage. Second image, it's like meeting people, coming together, having a date, having a chat, what's going on, how to deal with this. And third in a row, doing some sports, having fitness. And I'm sorry, but on social media and for gay men, sex sells. So we don't produce body shaming. We also share images of all body types. But as you can know, an image like this will create more success than everything else. But we are aware that all body types are part of our community. So we are with you. Is the next slide I want, or the next example I want to share. It's a campaign we introduced together with Interpride and German Pride Association. We Are With You, which came up 2-3 years ago, where during COVID and the Black Lives Matter situation in the US of America. So we create a whole campaign about it and included not only Black Lives Matter, also Trans Lives Matter and Queer Lives Matter, because people in these groups will be neglected very, very often. And the other one from Instagram, you can see the Interpride Instagram. Feel free to join us. And there we differentiate, we do something special. We differentiate in between three different target groups. So the main audience is our members. There are 480 members right now worldwide. The second audience we create content for is politicians worldwide. And the third, new customers, like people who are joining Pride events all over the world. So it's very hard to find a direct way and the right way to communicate. You have to be very careful that you don't use words that can offend others. But we trying to do our best, and sometimes we need to learn a lot, because people reaching out to us and asking or telling us that it's not the correct way we are doing it. And then we have to learn, and we are willing to learn and take the voices and feedback we got in. And as a company, on a company level, we are doing such events like as much often we can to spread the word, to invite our users, to invite our community, and to celebrate life with them. So 5 tips for you I want to share. Tip number 1, taking new users by the hand. So explaining instead of sharing cat content. It's a phrase I use very often, and interact with them. So on your socials, on your onboard community, on your forum, on your wherever, a nice hello, a nice shout out at the beginning, explaining what they are doing, what they can do, which features you have to share. Share your guidelines first and welcome them to your safe space. It's the best you can do. Interacting with your users, one number one priority. Second, be patient. Even if the user is king, he is not allowed to do everything. So regardless to the community guidelines, they will help you. Formulate a clear statement of your company values, of your communication guidelines, and what I said at the beginning of the session, define what is hate speech for you and don't allow to discriminate others on your platforms or socials. So think about what you want to share and to whom you want to spread out. So an 18 years old queer person reacts in a different way than a 60 years old. Maybe you need to know what their interests are to get closely in touch with them. So be aware of the age structure. 4, create a sense of unity. The user is your voice to the world. So when you are close to the user, they will spread the word of your product, of your company, of your business, of your events, of everything. As much as they can be involved, they will spread the word of what you are doing and where they are taking part. 5, the attitude shapes the outcome. Be yourself, be authentic, and above all, as transparent as possible. There's nothing to cover up, and honestly, always goes down well. So you don't have to hide anything, even if there's a mistake done by you. Appreciate for it. That's transparent, that's human, that's totally fine. Everyone will understand. And if you are as much transparent as you can be and authentic, the customer, the user, and your community is your fan. And when they are your fan, they will do everything for you and will support you as much they can. So at first we want to start with the chat. So how do you generally handle incoming support requests from individuals who are not yet ready to come out? Yeah, as best as you can. You can only speak for yourself. That's sometimes, it could sometimes be a problem because you can't say what they want to hear, but do as best as you can. And if you are not the professional in answering these questions, create a link list for yourself with organizations they can answer, they can help out. So like we receive a lot of questions from queer refugees all over the world, but we are not, at first we don't have the manpower to handle all these incoming questions. Second, we don't have the knowledge to do all this because different country, different rules, different laws. And at third, there are so many organizations worldwide, like ILGA World, like ILGA Europe, and others. It's their day business. So forward them to the organization who is able to answer correctly. Okay, so there's another one. What are some examples of moderation issues you have had to deal with in the dating world? Yeah, I'm not joking around, but at first, the main income of questions is like, do you want to fuck? Uh, no, I don't want to, but I can answer your question if you have something different. Mm, And in general, it's like I've been working for the gay dating community for 15 years now. And it's in Germany, it's a bit different to other parts of the world, as you identify as a gay person in the English language. It doesn't matter your gender or your sexual identity. If you are identify yourself as gay in the German language, you are only a gay man. So a female person wouldn't identify herself as gay. She's a lesbian. A non-binary person, the same, a trans person, a bisexual person, pansexual, and all the others the same. So gay stands only for gay men. So the main problem we have in our daily communication on our community is that even older gay men can't understand why the word queer is so 2024 and why is identify as queer person more important than identifying as a gay man. So, and sometimes they're asking or reaching out to us and us, I don't understand what it means. So we explain and in our magazine and our forum and monthly open chats we have with our community team and our audience. And the second question they raise much often is, I'm a gay man. I don't want to interact with bisexual people because I'm not interested in. So it's a small, can you say small grade between preferring my own sexual identity and not being racist and spreading harassment. So on the one hand, it's a sexual identity and the sexual preference I have. On the other hand, I can also I can also accept all the others. So if I don't want to talk to them, I can say in a nice way, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in having contact or having sex with you.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I was thinking out loud. It's really interesting, right? I think it sort of relates to that next question about microaggressions to me, where there's often a very thin line between that, expression of preference, which is completely, an individual's prerogative, but then what if within that for an individual there could be racism or misogyny or some other kind of something in there wrapped up in that, and how to be on the lookout for that whilst respecting and affording preference, and how to navigate those lines. I imagine that's really, really interesting. Some of the things you
It's
come up
interesting and
with.
it's not that easy all the time. So in our forum, there are different topics they can talk about, even their way of thinking and spread their mind because it's their way of thinking, not ours. But we actively moderate everything and we always remind people on our community guidelines. So if there's something rude, if there's something against law, we have to interact immediately and the content will be hidden, will be deleted. The communication can be closed, and even we report to the police if there's something immediately happening we have to deal with. But sometimes, yes, microaggressions popping up in a private chat, so we don't know what users are doing between them.
Yep.
But you have always the possibility of report a private message to reach out, and you always, and this is something we create awareness for, you can always block a user you don't want to talk with anymore. More than 600,000 people, you can't deal with every single conversation.
Of course, yeah. It's a good mix of those policy instruments of the human moderation work, but then also having the technical feature sets to empower users to take these actions themselves as well.
Yeah. So, how do you deal with older people who may have established prejudice but can change? And you get people who may be impatient with older people who are slower to see their point of view. Yeah, good question. That's a good question. The main thing we are doing is creating awareness. So we are publishing articles in our gay magazine, for example, to explain the situations, to explain different ages and different educational level is not the word I'm looking for, but maybe you can say grown-up statuses. I don't know if it's the right English, but um, so when you're born in the 60s, maybe you have another point of view than when born in the 2000s. Um, but you can connect these people and then create awareness, spread the word, educate them by sharing information they don't need. And
Yeah, I think that's a really
uh,
great answer. I think that's an interesting one to me as well. Great question, whoever asked that one. Because I see versions of this as well, not just in obviously in very different types of communities settings where, and even some of the topics we've talked about today, where people who are, and they're not always older, so I don't want, I've got to be careful here. I don't mean to be ageist, but someone who is more set in their ways, who may be older, perhaps with more established worldviews, who is struggling with some of this change and struggling to, I guess, meet the call to equity and inclusion that you're laying down, but maybe wants to, but is really struggling with it. Um, how do we? I find that sometimes people are very quick to judge and quick to shut down their opportunity to learn, because they might say something wrong. They might say something that's genuinely offensive or even harmful, and get very impatient at the the change is too slow. You're not getting it quick enough, which I can understand, but bridging that gap is so important, I think. And sort of, as you were just talking about, using educative tools, educative mechanisms, editorial content, etc., to help bring these two perspectives together, I think, yeah, sounds
yeah,
like a very helpful approach.
it's what you've said. So we are judging a lot, and yes, that's true. And even our daily business, when you're working hours are full of meetings and stuff you have to do. You sometimes don't have the time to think, you act, but in the second step, you think, okay, let's think first and then react. Sometimes it's not the best way. And sometimes doing this also makes you more problems because sometimes you can create your own shitstorm in these situations. And so think about what you're doing.
The golden rule. Avoid the shitstorm.
Yeah, sometimes. So I've started with the Enterprise Communications Committee in February this year, and it's really interesting because the way of communication is totally different from what I've done before. Reaching out to a global network with people from all over the world with different life situations, different religious backgrounds. It's sometimes very difficult. And to be honest, I'm learning a lot and I'm not perfect. And I know that I do mistakes in my daily work when doing something for Enterprise, because since now I don't have the awareness of this because it wasn't part of my daily life, of my society life, of my everything. So now I need to learn this. And sometimes I'm very sorry, but sometimes your answer takes 3, 4, 7 days because I need to learn first how to act in the right way. And this is nothing we have to hide. When you are authentic and when you are transparent in your daily work, say it out. Say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer directly. I need more information. I need to educate myself before answering you. And that's not false. That's the right way you can do. So ask and do something before do something wrong.
That's a really great takeaway, I think. And I think it's something we often know innately, but need to remind ourselves of, is to allow ourselves the time to do that learning, particularly if we don't, if our view and lived experience is not representative of the person we're interacting with, and it's often not going to be. We know, for example, in Australia, our national community management data shows that the vast and overwhelming majority of individuals moderating or managing communities online in Australia across every single industry and every single setting, they're hugely female, which is interesting, for majority female, but they're also majority cis and majority white. And we know that the people that are in those communities that they're moderating, managing, supporting, stewarding are not all that way. And so these teams or these community leaders, may not be representative of the people that they're governing and stewarding. So I think it's a great reminder to work out loud, to learn out loud wherever we can, and to kind of take that time, allow ourselves the constructive pause to learn. I think it's sometimes hard in organizations and businesses that don't want to allow you that time. It sounds like you're in a position to do it, which is awesome. And if you are in that position, I think you should grab onto it with both hands. I've definitely seen and been a part of organizations that are uncomfortable with moving slowly to learn, even when it's really necessary and it would produce the better outcome. So that's something we have to kind of grapple with.
Yeah, and sometimes this is something I've learned in the past years. I'm a male, cis, gay man, and sometimes I can't speak, for example, trans or intersexual people, because everything I think, which is right, I want to spread, maybe is not the interesting of their group, of the group itself. So reach out to them, talk to them, get to create your knowledge, and then you can talk. But when I'm not the best, the best, I will forward to a person who can answer better.
Look, what you're saying really connects with the talk that we just finished, actually, from Venia Logan, who spoke, among other things, about the importance of bridging capital. And so, and not just the bonding and the linking work that we do as moderators and community professionals, but this work to do bridging within our communities and beyond and outside our communities as well. I think it's a really interesting connection that's been raised.
And I saw what Venia was typing in the chat. So with the word queer, I can't say it in detail how is queer used in the English language. So we all use it, but I don't know the exact handle for it. I can speak for the German community, and queer is used for years for being more inclusive. Of course, when I write about homosexuals, all the trans and intersexual peoples are dismissed. All the bisexual and pansexual peoples are dismissed. When I talk about gay, I only reach out to gay male persons. So this is why we are using queer to be more inclusive and to interact with everyone.
Kind of like a more of an umbrella term for the entire community. Yeah.
Right.
That's really interesting. I would say, I would, and I'm not an expert in this, but I would say that I think that it is often used in that fashion in Australia, certainly, and even in the United States. There are people in the audience that are actually more expert than I am on this. You might want to weigh in. But I think that it shares that in common. It's often used as a bridging or binding term for like the umbrella term. But it also has sometimes very specific cultural connotations, kind of like you were talking about. That leads me to one other question. You mentioned briefly that you are this, and some of your work through Interpride necessitates that you deal with people from very different walks of life, different religious backgrounds, different races, different ethnicities, who may have tensions and collisions with some of the mission and values of the organization and of the community in terms of its stance on inclusivity. Can you talk a little bit about how because you're learning as you go, as you said, how you're dealing with that? How are you kind of navigating those lessons of making sure these people are also included and doing that outreach and building the community out, but also protecting and defending the community values that you want to uphold in terms of inclusivity and equity?
Good question. Yeah, it makes sense, but I can't answer in detail. So I think everyone has his own way to learn and grow. And for myself, it's like checking the companies, in this case, enterprise values and statements, to get familiar with them. And even, to be honest, I have a Google document and I add some side notes for myself. So like,
I think we've all got one of those.
maybe it sounds shitty, but it's something quick and dirty.
No, I think it's really good. I mean, I think it's a working out loud process tool, right?
That the communication pops up, I can have a look and see, okay, take care of this, take care of this, like your introduction with the native people of Australia. So I remember from World Pride Australia that every single event started with this phrase, and I love it. But for example, this is something we don't do in Germany. But when you're communicating with other parts of the world, you have to be aware that there is something you need to add in your communication, because otherwise it's fucking bullshit what you are doing and not respectful. And so this is something I stupidly add on a Google form and have a look myself. Okay, this 3 bullet points you have to take care of first.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's stupid at all. I think it's smart. I think any processes or tools that we can kind of come up with to learn this and absorb this, otherwise we're not able to. It's like you just said, right? What are we doing if we're not doing that? We've got to really walk our talk. Otherwise, it's kind of it's just it's just talk, right? We have to really live that, and that means, as a moderator, as like the avatar of all of this in the community, being open to this ourselves, which is going to, whoever we are, whatever our experiences is, means we've got to be open to change and grow and challenge ourselves and our assumptions. I think it's hard to do that, especially in a commercial business where we've got goals often and targets and metrics, and we're doing a job, to put food on the table. Sometimes it becomes challenging to remember to do all of this stuff as well, or to just try to do it. But I do think it's really part of the practice, and I think that it makes our work better when we can carve out the time to do it.
You're so right. So
I'm preaching to the converted.
On management, there's 1 minute left, maybe 2. Last slide, my final words. And in a world characterized by diversity, it is essential that we advocate for equal rights, inclusive participation, and appreciation for LGBTIQ+ people by breaking down barriers, overcoming prejudice, and promoting a culture of acceptance. We can build a society that is equitable and fulfilling for all people. I encourage you to actively work towards these goals and work together to create a world where everyone has the freedom to be authentic and realize their full potential.
Thank you so much, Ronald. What a fantastic note to end on. So please do reach out to Ronald if you want to stay in touch, learn more about his work, and particularly his work in the Pride and LGBTQI+ communities. Thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, happy Ida Hobbit Day. Good point.